Hello and good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I am Zayden here once again for Smite VOD. I'm going to be talking about a couple things today in this video. Hopefully we'll not go on too long, but we're going to touch on exactly what is going on in South America as far as Smite and esports is concerned. We're also going to touch on some mistakes and errors I made in that video yesterday, as well as some plans I have for this weekend that may or may not be complicated and lengthy and stuff. So without further ado, I'm going to switch the order of these things around and correct some mistakes I made yesterday. Yesterday, you might have seen the video that I put up talking about, or rather casting a game out of what I refer to as South America, Latin America, or any other number of words I might have used interchangeably. It was Ragnarok versus Dupla de Cinco facing off in the Supreme Deities tournament. Again, this is the translated name. I'm not going to try and pronounce other languages because that just will not end well. So that said, it turned out that was actually a tournament from the Brazil region. Turns out that there's not just a South American region as we do with North America or Europe. There is actually Brazil with its own little region, server / what have you, as well as a separate South American, Latin American, Hispano-American server. The words are used interchangeably. Google Translate likes to not be very consistent with that. So from this point forward, if I say South America, I am referring to probably the continent. If I say the South American, I'm actually going to take a step back. If I say South America, I'm talking about not Brazil. If I say Brazil, I'm talking about Brazil. That will make it and keep this all simple. If I say Latin America or Hispano-America or anything of that effect, I'm also referring to South America, not Brazil. So now that we've got that out of the way, let's actually take a quick look at what both of these regions have as options to get to Worlds. As I might or might not have mentioned already, Brazil has a seat available at Worlds for them, and South America has a seat at Worlds available for them. The question is, how exactly do they get there? As I pull my notes out as I accidentally stuck them away before. South America, it's a little bit more messed up. These websites they have are less than informative. This is the on-screen for the past 2 minutes, 20 seconds or so. Is basically all the info I have found. There's other little bits and pieces here, but I have attempted to put together this all and get it in a presentable format where I can explain what is exactly going on. So, in the past, already has happened situation. There was the South American Olympian League. Essentially, that boiled down to the equivalent of the North American Smite World Championship qualifiers that were held about 4 or 5 months ago at this point, I think. It was at least a few months ago now. So, there was a series of brackets, 4 or 5 weeks, 6 weeks, however many weeks straight. Teams fought in a regular old elimination bracket, best of 1 matches all the way up to the finals, when the finals were best of 3. If you played, you got a couple little seeding points. If you placed 8th place or higher, you got more seeding points, 100 points for first place, like 60 or something for second, and then decreasing amounts down to the base amount. The top 8 teams from that tournament qualified for the Sudden Death tournament for South America. And I hope I have this correct, because this is basically all the info I have up on the page right here now that you're looking at in this video. As far as I'm aware, the Sudden Death is another single elimination tournament where they will be fighting off for the top 2 places, essentially. There's some other gem prizes involved as well, but the top 2 teams from the Sudden Death tournament will move on to the South American Cup Final, which is essentially the South American regional LAN that we're having this weekend for Europe and next weekend for North America. There's also the Rise to Olympus tournament after that, which is kind of the wild card. It's one more last bracket that anyone can enter, as far as I'm aware. Again, these rules aren't 100% clear, because we highlight here. In this promotion, in addition to the participating teams, as the stuff highlights, in addition to the participating teams will have another chance to qualify. New equipment that were not part of the Olympus League and want to earn a spot in the grand finale can register and participate in this tournament that will trigger in Sudden Death competition that will decide the remaining 2 finalists. So, right here we have teams that qualified for Sudden Death, but then they can get in through the stuff. It's a little confusing, but as far as I can take from this, it's sort of a last-ditch wildcard effort with 2 potential seats to the finals. If they don't win Sudden Death, then Sudden Death is after that. And this is where it gets a little bit confusing because I could not find an actual date for the sudden death tournament. But in theory, this is one more shot for people, the winners from Rise to Olympus. I'm not entirely sure, but essentially, as far as I'm aware, I'm going to go off my notes here because this is what I decided earlier. The top 2 teams from Rise to Olympus will move on to the Cup Final. The top 2 teams from the Sudden Death Tournament move on to the Cup Final. In the Cup Final, the top team from that one will move on, get an all-expense-paid trip to Atlanta for their team, where they will fight and compete in the Smite World Championships in January. Once again, disclaimer, this could all entirely be wrong. Like, the new equipment, I'm assuming it's supposed to be players or something to the effect. The translation is sparse at best. I do not speak Spanish, I do not speak Portuguese, so this is what I have to work with. And these sites are just horrible in general. The information is sparse at best, so I've tried to piece together my best understanding of this, so this is probably entirely wrong. Alright, sip of water. Moving on to Brazil. This is a little bit more nicely presented. Taking a look at the page here, we have what is Smite World Championship. It explains what's going on in January. It's in the US. There's the Odyssey, way to raise the prize pool, how to do so, and all that fun stuff. And then the phases of regional. This is a much better defined explanation of how these teams are getting to Worlds for Brazil. So this is easier to explain. We had the War of the Immortals here on the top left of the screen, divided into 4 qualifiers. Again, similar to the Smite World Championship qualifiers, they're placed in this tournament. They get seeding points. The top 8 teams then move on to the Supreme Deities tournament, which is essentially the SPL played again, not in a round robin, we fight everyone a whole bunch of times format, but instead a double elimination bracket. Double elimination, if you don't know what it is, you have a bracket similar to every other tournament. Except if you lose, instead of just being eliminated completely, you move down to a second lower losers bracket. If you lose again there, you're knocked out of the tournament. If you win, you keep advancing all the way back up, at which point you reach the finals, but as the losing team, you do face a 1 game down penalty because you already lost. So you lose twice, well, it's a double elimination. You lost twice, you're out. So you have to beat the finalists twice to actually take the victory. So that's your penalty for losing once when the finalist, or the top bracket finalist, didn't lose at all. So that said, the top 4 teams that place in the Supreme Deities tournament will advance on to the Arena of the Gods tournament, which will be a little bit later on. But still on the Supreme Deities tournament, there's also some pretty nice gem prizes. I think it's 6,000 gems per player for first place, which is not too shabby at all. Then moving on to the Arena of the Gods, this is upcoming the 6th of December. It's a LAN at Comic-Con. They're going to be facing off. The first place team out of that will get an all-expense paid trip to Atlanta, Georgia, where they will be facing off against 2 teams from North America, 2 teams from Europe, 2 teams from China, as well as that 1 team from South America, attempting to win the $1 million plus prize pool for the World Championship. So big money on the line for these teams, definitely. Well, that's undone. That's how these teams get to Worlds. Theory. I'm pretty confident about how the Brazil stuff works now that I have seen this and looked at this. South America, I still have absolutely no idea. All that said and done, there's the brackets. There's the slightly larger brackets. Sorry about the white screen, but I'm lazy, didn't feel like fixing it. There we go, we sort of fixed it. So coming up this weekend, the 15th and 16th of November, we have the South American something or other tournament going on. The Brazilian Supreme Deities tournament going on. The EU Regional LAN going on. There's a lot of Smite esports stuff this weekend. For most people, it's not a huge deal. You can watch stuff when you please. As the guy doing Smite VOD, I need to make sure I have the EU stuff recording and uploading all that fun stuff in a reasonable amount of time. So my hands are a little bit tied from that. The EU Regional LAN is set to run, I believe, from 6 p.m. to about midnight Eastern. That doesn't sound right. It doesn't sound right. I'm not going to try and fix it right now. It's running most of the day. I'll just leave it at that. So, going to have my hands tied a little bit there. I also want to try and get some of these games spectatable for Brazil, at least. As I touched on a little bit earlier for South America, or I might not have touched on, I might have redone this video. Trying to cut it down from 15 minutes, but we're at 10 minutes, but nevertheless, I'm going to try and speed this along a little bit. South America, the website is just terrible. The Brazilian site isn't much better in all honesty, but South America, I have the team names of teams in the sudden death. Beyond that, I have no idea who's playing. I don't know a single player name who's playing. For any of you who don't know, the live spectating for Smite right now is horribly broken at best. It kicks you out randomly, it crashes, and it's horrible, it doesn't work. It's not usable. The official workaround is to use replays, which sounds all fine and well. Except, to record a replay, you essentially you have to spectate a game initially. As long as you start spectating it, you have a replay. But to spectate someone, you need to know who they are. So with maybe 36 hours or so, no, like 48 hours or so to go. What was today? 13th. Like a day and a half, 2 days until this would all be actually relevant. I don't have time to go hunt down teams and all this fun stuff because the information is just not there for South America. The Brazilian side, at least, these aren't the actual brackets. Yes, I do actually have them here. I can pull up the brackets. I can actually see team names and stuff like that. It's a proper bracket. There's information. If I scroll around page, if I click a teams like Eternal Rally, hey, look, we have teams. We click over players, and I look at the bottom left corner of the screen, which actually isn't showing up on the screen, but I can see like player names and all this stuff. So it's like I actually know who these players are because I can see this information, as well as if I can find a game that did it. Some of them even have pictures of the results screen. So if like I click that, and it's like, hey, look, this is Ragnarok teams. They had Proofy, Single, Night Owl, Arcade, and Ext. So it's like I know who they are now. I can actually identify them, spectate them, watch the game to completion by having it in the background, get the match ID. You can see it kind of hiding in the corner. If I drag, it's not going to let me drag it. Whatever. I can get the match IDs. So I will, if nothing else, have a couple of games coming out of Brazil. Hopefully a full match set or two, not just like 1 or 2 random games. But nevertheless, I will definitely have some Brazilian games. Do not expect any games from South America. South America, I'm honestly not going to be putting too much effort into that because I just don't have the time at the moment to get set up and figure all this stuff out. I'm set for Brazil. We're going to take a look at those, having more information on one of the 3 regions that is essentially a mystery to most players from North America and Europe. I mean, seriously, if you don't speak Spanish, you don't speak Portuguese, there's absolutely nothing out there right now for information from South America. If you don't speak Chinese, there's very, very little information out of China. So yeah, we know the North American teams, we know the European teams beyond a couple mentions of a little tidbit here and there from the casters during like the SPL or the wild cards and stuff like that. We don't have information about it. And just taking a look at, do I have that up here? I thought I had that here somewhere. Apparently I don't. There's a video from one of the tournaments on the South American side. I'm on the Brazilian side now. That actually had like crazy lineups. This was like a pro game they played recently, and it was something like Hades, Artemis, Zhonghui, Kumbhakarna. It's like, okay, they have Hades, Zhonghui, and then like some crazy jungler on top of that. And like looking at this, I'm like, yeah, okay, this is definitely a bit of a different meta, at least as far as god selection goes. So yeah, and just my upcoming schedule for this weekend, it's going to be crazy. I'm not entirely sure what is going on. You can follow SmiteVod on Twitch. It's twitch.tv/SmiteVod. This will be down below in the description to get a notification of if this goes live as a live stream at some point on Saturday. It's also linked up to all the YouTube videos here with the live annotations. You'll see at the bottom left corner of the YouTube video, like somewhere where my mouse is. If I am live, you'll see a little pop-up here saying like, oh, SmiteVod's streaming right now. Go see what the hell they're doing. And then also you can keep an eye on Twitter, twitter.com/SmiteVod, and it'll pop up there if I am streaming as well. So all that said and done, I might do this as a live stream. It might just end up being like post recordings. I'll record it as a video and upload it straight to the SmiteVod channel. But I don't know, I kind of prefer to do it as a live stream. A couple of the people who tuned in last night, chatting up a little bit, it was kind of fun. So, might go that route. Either way, guys, not going to let this video draw out too much longer. We're already about up to 15 minutes, so I'm tired of talking. Just got finished casting a tournament all day today, and then went to do this video, and then redo this video, because why not? So hopefully there was not too much rambling in this whole bit of a spiel. And hopefully, at least for Brazil, there is now a slightly better understanding of how this all is going to work going forward for South America and Brazil. So all said and done, guys. All said and got words. I'm tired. It's not so much talking today in my mouth, just like, ugh, wants to die. All said and done, guys. Thanks for watching. Have a great day, great evening, great afternoon, depending on where you are and what time it is for you. Check around. Keep an eye out on Saturday. I'll be casting. I might have a co-caster. I think I touched on about how there's some time zone issues because my co-caster will be in the UK. I'm in the US, so if I cast too late, it will be like midnight for him. So all said and done, before I go on and ramble and talk about stuff I might have already talked about. Thanks, guys, and have a great night.